Let's talk.
Giles Brown.
The Specialist, an extraordinary memoir of trauma and biohazard cleaning. Ben Giles has spent 30 years cleaning what most people cannot bear to imagine. Dead bodies decomposing for weeks, kitchen floors painted with blood, hoarders' homes where the filth tells story of unimaginable loneliness, even a whale carcass lodged in a cargo ship. This is How to Clean a Crime Scene and Other Messes. It's by Ben Giles, and I'd like to say that Ben joins me live on the line now. Ben, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Giles. Pleasure to be here.
Now, this is a job like no other. I mean, Ben, for those who had that breakfast this morning in Spain, I mean, when did you decide this was for you, Ben? And I'm being serious here. I mean, it'd be very easy to go, oh, blimey, you know, how do you get a whale carcass out of a cargo ship? Answer very, very carefully indeed. But I'm just wondering, because how did you fall into this particular segment of a fascinating job?
Yeah, I mean, well, welcome to all your listeners. It's nice to talk to them, and I hope they're not actually tucking into anything right now, breakfast-wise. But yeah, so for me, it was basically I live in West Wales, so it's a beautiful place to live, and I was looking for a niche, something I could do there that would afford me the lifestyle I wanted. Right. And because of that, I started a window cleaning business, but realised very early on that would pay the bills, but probably not a lot more. And so, one of my customers was a lady who started the charity Age Concern, and she had a warden-assisted property that was had a bath that was filled to the brim with feces, and the toilet was filled to the brim, and pyramids of tea bags all around the room, and it was kind of cross between a Hoarders and a really filthy property. So she asked if I knew anyone who could do it, and I said, yeah, I would do it. And didn't really know much about it, but managed to charge her £2,000 for basically a day's work, and realised if I could solve those problems for her and charge that money, then what else could I do? I mean,
the reason that people say cliche, and there's a big cliche coming out now, Ben, so stand by, where there's muck, there's brass, as they say in certain places. But this is, I mean, chapeau, sir, for not walking away and going, you deal with that. But I mean, it's all very well getting quote unquote stuck in, as it were, to clean this, but you have to. I mean, this is tea bags I could handle. The bath, perhaps not. So you didn't just sort of get the extra strong mints and stick 2 cotton buds up your nostrils and go for it. So presumably, you're going to tell me this is what you did now, Ben, aren't you? Well,
it's bizarre, So when we first started, there was no legislation, and the business wasn't really viewed as professional at that time. So there was nowhere to go to try and work out what to do. So I kind of cobbled together what I thought. I read as much as I could. There was a couple of trauma cleaning companies in the States, which I kind of read about what they were doing. And yeah, literally, I remember my first mask was a cheap disposable mask that I filled the inside with Vicks and some orange peel to try and hide the smell of a dead body. Yeah. So, it was a far cry from where we are now. Yeah. We've kind of been inspirational in professionalizing the industry. But yeah, it was literally just kind of a bottle of Dettol and some PPE from a pound shop. Can I
ask you a question here? As the Americans would say, there's a word called compartmentalize, or imagine yourself doing anything but the actual thing that you're doing at that point. So when you are up to your pick a body part in filth, do you think of, I don't know, fluffy white clouds, fields filled with tulips to get yourself away from the actual mess that you're dealing with? Or do you have to look, I mean, okay, I'm not talking about a bathroom full of what, but if you're dealing with something like a whale carcass stuck in a cargo ship, you have to presumably know what you're doing and the structural sort of, and the possible outcomes that you don't just rock up with a huge can of air freshener and go for it, do you, when you've got half a Moby Dick sticking out the side of a ship?
No, I mean, I think over the years, we've learned lots and lots of stuff. And I think so. I mean, it reminds me of what you said originally. Like, I remember Happy Gilmore going to his happy place. I mean, that's kind of trying to get that yourself in a situation where you can cope with that. Part of my upbringing was brought up on a kind of a farm where my parents struggled to make ends meet. And so we were exposed to lots of animals that died and kind of filth that's associated with farms. So that kind of set me in good stead. But yeah, genuinely, it's just a matter of learning as much as I could. I hope people get from the book that you'll see that I've really tried to learn my stuff and to know what kind of dangers I'm putting myself into. But right at the start, I didn't have a clue.
I mean, when you say what sort of dangers, because I mean, apart from the horribleness of, bathroom sort of poo, I'll say, rather than that other word, but also, I mean, we talk about sort of blood stains and stuff like that. I mean, I mean, this isn't murder. You're not CSI cleanup, but presumably somebody's got to clean this stuff up. And is that sort of not the? Are you going in after the police have done their work then, sort of thing? Is that?
Yeah. So it ranges from various situations. So we follow forensics in. So we've had to develop chemicals to remove forensic chemicals like ninhydrin and luminol, chemicals like that, Mido Black, which I never knew they existed until we got asked to remove them. So we do clean up suicides, murders, crime scenes after police force and specialists have been in. But most of the time we're just cleaning up also filth. So we clean up road traffic accidents, we clean up spillages on roads, situations with hoarders' properties. So it's kind of a real varied bag, really, that we work in day to day.
Here's the thing, because we're talking about the physical, the bits and pieces like, that's okay, get it stuck in there. I mean, because you don't do it all yourself now, you've built this up as a business, presumably you need a special mindset to do this because... I think that's really important. So we developed a training academy to teach people how to do it. We've taught people in the UK. We've taught about 5,000 people to date, and then about 400 in Europe who come over to Bristol for our training courses. And and we always encourage them not to start on the worst thing they can imagine, to try and start on something like a custody cell or police vehicles where you've got some stability. You've got kind of the same four walls that you're used to, and the more complicated it gets with saturation levels and multiple days or months that the body has been there, then you get more and more situations to deal with, like pest control. That's added in with flies and maggots and skin beetles. I mean, presumably you're going into the site, the police have been, they've removed all the pertinent bits and pieces. But you talked about that first one, about a hoarder's house, and we've all, we all know somebody who kept everything, toenails in a jar and all that sort of horrendous. But there's an awful lot of, I mean, to quote Eleanor Rigby, you look at all the lonely people, and there's quite, again, it's just, I mean, you do get an insight into some people's lives, and the way, I'm using the word desperation, not in the way that they can't connect with people. And, we go about our lives and we have friends and connections and communities, even though we all say we don't. And then you get to see the inside of something like that and you go, blimey, what a way to live.
Yeah. And I think it's more common than people imagine. And kind of the TV programs don't really do it justice, kind of like the Buried Alive, Hoarders programs. I mean, most properties we go into where we are dealing with extreme hoarding, we've got chest freezers that we uncover full of feces. So people have just been keeping their own feces or bottling their urine, 500-600 bottles of urine. So it's a bizarre situation. Even one in my book, I talk about some bogey balls. One guy couldn't throw his bogeys away, so made them into balls that were bigger than kind of tennis balls, and they were just sat on his coffee table. Just bizarre, totally bizarre.
That's a conversation starter, isn't it?
There's normally some catalyst. Whenever you speak to people, there's a catalyst to sort of their behaviour. We had one lady who, their property was full of cats. She had about 40, 50 cats.
Nothing wrong with that, Ben, and my listeners will be going, that's fine, that's an average, yeah.
But the property was just covered in cat feces everywhere. But there was clean dirt boxes everywhere. And I said to her, why are the cats not using the dirt boxes? And she said, well, they stopped using them when my husband started using them. And I just looked at her and thought, oh, my goodness, so I don't know how deep-seated mental health can be, but that's obviously one of the catalysts for crazy behaviour.
Here's a question that I never thought I'd ask in my career. When you've got 400 bottles of somebody else's pee, what do you do? I mean, you can't go down to the nearest. I mean, how do you dispose of it in a? Yeah.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So I very often use this for new recruits and say to them, look, watch how naive people are. If you've got environmental health kind of officers with us, And I'll say, look, there's another 400 bottles of urine. Can we charge £1 a bottle to get rid of it? And they said, yeah, fine. So I said to the boys, there's an extra 400 quid there. And that was the question. They said, well, what should we do with that? So we just unblock the toilet, pour it down the loo. And no one has ever thought about doing it. Or we might have to pop a drain up for a sewer and pour it down a drain. But really simply to get rid of it. If we haven't got that access, then you're right. It has to go to specialist waste. We have to use absorbents, and then it goes to be to destruction via kind of yellow bag or yellow box.
The really serious stuff, the chemical spills, that sort of thing. I mean, it's not a case of you don't rock up like Ghostbusters, do you? You're all sort of screaming tires, and you leap out and go, "What we got?" You presumably, if you've got something really toxic, you got to do your homework. There's got to be a lot of preparation before you send, your best 100%. Team in. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a point that we have to learn where we have to stop. So there are chemical specialists that we work with in the UK who, if it's outside of our forte, that we will pass the job on to them. I mean, our suits, we wear Tyvek J 800J suits, which are like a polyethylene protective suit. But at the end of the day, they're an organic kind of protective suit. But for when we get to really nasty chemicals, the thing that really kind of scared me in the beginning was when I found out that hepatitis B lives for 8 weeks in body fluid.
Whoa.
That's when for me the need to sanitize and to learn about viruses and bacteria, that became more important to me than chemicals, because that wasn't really our forte.
Yeah. Do you get out for dinner much? I mean, what's your social life like? Because I mean, I imagine if I was a dinner party and we've all been to those dinner parties where and what do you do? Oh, I've got a merchant bank. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I just dealt with 400. I'm still getting over the bottles of pee, obviously, but it's going to live with me. And it probably, I mean, it either cuts off all conversation or it really gets the conversation going.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is really the reason for writing my memoirs and my book, because it happened that every time I was out, someone would say, "What's the worst thing you've ever cleaned up?" or "What's the worst thing you've seen?" And it changed on nearly a weekly basis because we were doing so much work. So yeah, it's that's the whole point of my memoirs. If you want to have a read of them, then it'll kind of give you an insight into what I've seen. I've
got to ask you, so what do you do with a whale carcass that's slammed into the side of a cargo ship? Talk me through it, Ben.
Yeah, so it was over the bow of a ship. So basically, I got this phone call, and it was a photograph text to me, and it was a mate of mine who worked for the business, said, "What can you do with this?" And I was like, he was joking, thinking we couldn't deal with it. And actually, at the time, I was helping my dad. I was in his swimming pool trying to fix a light, and it was New Year's Eve. And he was like saying, "Oh, don't answer the phone. Just don't worry about it. It's New Year's Eve." And anyway, I did take the call, and I did manage to remember that I had another friend who dealt with stranded marine life. And I called him and said, "Look, can you help me with this?" I sent him a picture, and he immediately said, "That's a 20-ton fin whale." So I thought, from one photo, he needs to get out more. If he can tell that from that. But the crazy thing was, then we found a company that rendered dead animals, and we asked them whether they could deal with a whale carcass, and they said, yeah. Actually, I didn't realize that the whale oil is worth a fortune because it's one of the only oils that doesn't freeze. So it's used on space aircraft and satellites and things like that. So anyway, yeah, it got rendered, and we had to cut it in half. So ratchet strap both sides where we were going to cut it in half and put it on two 40-ton lorries. So there was only 12 tons of whale on each one. It was 22 tons.
Only 12 tons of whale, of course. And it's only Wednesday. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had to clean up the fallout on the side of the harbour with absorbents, and we weren't allowed to jet wash anything back into the water, which I found bizarre because it was a site of special interest, scientific interest. So we had to remove everything from the harbour side, but cleaned it all up. Yeah, and the most distressing thing was we couldn't actually fit the whale's head in the lorry, so we had to go and hire a chainsaw from a hire shop and cut the whale's mouth off and chuck that back in afterwards, because then it would fit in. Otherwise, as it was driving along, everyone would see half a whale's head sticking out of the lorry. So this
is after a particularly heavy New Year's Eve out, and the next thing you see is a whale thundering up the...
This is the thing. I mean, so my whole kind of ethos has been never to say no, and we ended up kind of netting over £17,000 for that job. So I'm so pleased I said yes to it. I learned loads from it. I'm a firm believer in the phrase "experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted." So I got what I wanted, and I actually got a load of experience with it, and made some great colleagues.
What are you hoping that people will learn from it? Because it sounds as entertaining, a really entertaining read, Ben. Was it fun to put this together, as I said?
You know, it was really strange. So part of it was really fun. Something that I really wanted to do. But the other thing that I wasn't anticipating was, it's a bit like when I was a window cleaner, I just looked at the dirt on the front of the window, never really looked in. And with my work, I kind of, it was like thick and fast, one job, the next day, the next day, the next day. So I never really contemplated what families were going through. I just kind of was chasing the dollar. And yeah, it was quite emotional to reread the stories and think about the families that were there. So I found it, I don't think it's therapeutic, but I think I found it bizarre that it suddenly triggered in me emotions that I'd never thought about.
But the thing is, Ben, you're getting a look into people's lives that you wouldn't, if you're a window cleaner, you know, with the greatest respect to that noble profession, you're just cleaning the window, you're looking in, and you know, hence 1,000 70s soft what's-it films. However, if you are going into people's houses, if they've vacated, if they're deceased, if they've been, then you are getting an insight into lives that, as we said a little bit earlier, you can't, and that's gonna build and have an effect. And also, you know, you didn't get into this life; the life sort of chose you and took you on this ride.
Yeah, true. And I think it's compounded sometimes where you go into a property and there's still suicide notes next to the body fluid we're cleaning up. And you think, what do we do with that? And we ring the family liaison officer and she said, there's no next of kin. You just need to throw them away. And I'm like, I can't. You know, I've got to give them to someone to store. This is the reason for someone taking their life. So there have been some emotional kind of a backlash to it. But I would say in the whole, it hasn't really affected me, the job, and I've thoroughly enjoyed. I didn't realise how much information I'd had to kind of learn over the years about body fluid and about pest control and about products and chemicals, and so hopefully that comes out in the book as well. If people can realise that we've turned it from a kind of a bucket of Dettol and a mop to something incredibly professional.
The book is called The Specialist, How to Clean a Crime Scene. And the message is by Ben Giles, who's with you today. Ben, if people want to find you online and follow you and say nice things, or say, you never guess what I found the other day, but there's we've got Roswell, we've got Area 51's just landed in my back garden, Stoke. Where can they, what's the professional, and where can people find you on the net?
So my website is www.bengiles.co.uk. So nice and simple. You can find me, Giles. A great name, by the way. And then if just search in Google, you'll see me pop up and everything. So I'm on most social medias as well.
Hopefully not knee deep in whale or 400 balls of whatever. And listeners, go onto our virtual bookstore, click on The Specialist. It'll be winging its way to you. Ben, I never know what I'm going to get in these interviews, and I must say I wasn't expecting this, but it's been absolutely brilliant, Ben. So thanks for your time today.
Pleasure.
And obviously, as we said, Giles is a fantastic name, so therefore we're
definitely
from Giles Brown to Ben Giles. The book is called The Specialist. Ladies, gentlemen, girls, boys, and whatever, go forth and order it. Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you today.
Thank you. You too. Cheers, mate.